Also jumped into another relationship so soon after the first long-term one was because it was like, it's time to get over it. But I had to understand that that love was real. People are so fast to be like, nah, next one.
Hi there, I'm Coach Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And in this video, we're going to be talking to you about you can't rush past your heartbreak.
You can't do it as much as you want to.
As horrible as you feel, it takes time to get through it. Okay, I understand when you're going through a breakup, you just want it to end. You just want to stop feeling that way. Sometimes you would even just say, I don't even care if I don't get my ex back anymore. I just gotta stop feeling like this.
Yeah. The truth is you can't speed run healing. And there is an amount of processing that's needed after a breakup to really understand what's happened, to reorient yourself. It's really important to have that period of time to kind of get your bearings.
I really believe that the more that you struggle through your breakup, the more likely you've had attachment trauma in your early childhood. And I think there's a correlation with the pain in that sense, that you experience painful things in your childhood with your caregivers, but also it has to do with the seriousness of the relationship or where you thought the relationship was going. Obviously, you might not feel so upset about somebody you went on 2 dates with and you weren't having a good time.
Right. We're talking about when there's deep attachment, connection, love there. You know, that's something that causes you to grieve when it leaves and when it's done, when it ends.
And you have to understand that based on whatever happened to you with your attachment trauma, you're going to have different symptoms and it's going to show up in different ways when you're relating to your romantic partners. So the more that you really understand that, talk about it, get a trauma therapist or a therapist that understands this, do the creative healing course or the workbooks, the more you're going to come out of this in a much stronger, more confident place.
Exactly.
So we want to share a video today. What do you have for us?
All right, we have somebody being interviewed in the street and they have a hot take on relationships. So we're going to hear it.
Be real with me.
You can't rush past your heartbreak.
Real. Why?
I was in 2 really long-term relationships, both for 3 years. I expected myself to be moved on very, very quickly, which is why I also jumped into another relationship so soon after the first long-term one was because it was like, it's time to get over it. But I had to understand that that love was real. People are so fast to be like, nah, next one. You can sit in that discomfort that you miss someone, that it was important to you. And it's okay. If anything, that's important to your humanity.
Recovering from a breakup is like being on a roller coaster that tosses you up and down, and sometimes it feels like it's getting better and then you get dropped.
Nothing's linear.
The beautiful thing about a breakup, though, is that the amount that it hurts is indicative to the amount that you cared. And I think it's such a beautiful thing that we get to experience, being able to acknowledge that you love someone and they loved you. No matter how it ended, feel the effects of that.
In a way.
And I'll say to that, yes, and I think there could be more to the story. I think there can be a correlation between how much the breakup hurts and how much you cared, but like Craig said before, there could also be things from your childhood that makes this breakup so much more painful.
Yep.
When we talk about grief, we talk about how grief brings up all other losses. So if you've had many losses, if you've had this experience of having a really hard time with people leaving your life or abandonment issues that are there since childhood, a breakup is going to be a lot harder.
Yeah, and if you try and distract yourself or push it away, push those feelings down, they're likely going to come back up, like with what we often see with the avoidant, right? The avoidant thinks that they're fine after the breakup, and then 5 months later, they're devastated like it just happened. I mean, we hear about it all the time. So you try and push it away, ignore it, act like it wasn't important to you, but in your unconscious, it's there, and it's going to come back. So you want to deal with it. You want to grieve. And it's not easy to process.
Right.
Margaret used to always say, talk about it. You got to talk about it.
Yeah. And, you know, you do see this in children sometimes, too, is when they do have attachment difficulties or even attachment disorders, sometimes they can be indiscriminate with who they show their love to. You know, as a kid, they attach too quickly to strangers. You know, that's something that can be a problem. So if we see that in children, we also see that sometimes in adults going through breakup, where they're indiscriminate after a breakup of who they decide to get close to because they're avoiding that deep pain of that loss.
We have any more here?
Yeah.
In a way, these people become a part of you. It's hard to get over the pain of not having that anymore. It's grief. You lost something and you want to get rid of it and push through it.
You can't rush how you feel. The body's going to take the time that it needs. And we are human mosaics of all the people we've been in a relationship with. Every single person that we date teaches us something about ourselves. Even if the relationship didn't end successfully, there's still a part of them that you'll always carry on because you learn about yourself in a relationship, you discover things, and they teach you things.
All right. Well, I don't know how the relationship ends successfully. I kind of wonder about that. But maybe he means...
amicably.
Yeah, amicably, friendly, on
Yeah.
decent terms, which is not easy to do, right? Because you're so hurt and disappointed and sad. And, you know, if somebody left you for somebody else, then you're angry at them. So, yeah, it doesn't often end well.
Yeah.
But that's why we say, leave your ex alone. Process it. Deal with it. Grow. Become a better version of yourself. Learn how you can improve in relationships. Allow them the space and time to calm down themselves, sort through things themselves, and hopefully work on themselves. And a lot of times they revisit things and want to come back and see if you guys can fix things.
Right. And a lot of times when we do date too soon after a breakup, we're really just inviting somebody else into our chaos and grief and unprocessed emotion. So not to say that it never works out. Of course, there's situations where, you know, they meet soon after a long-term relationship, but you really have to be conscious on what you're including somebody in on, what you're bringing somebody into, and how that other relationship is starting, what footing that other relationship is starting on, because it could have an impact later on.
Yep. All right. Now, there was another one you wanted to share too?
And it's the same style, just a street interview. Let's see what this hot take is.
All right.
Be real with me.
You can get back with your ex, but not right now.
Real, why?
I want everybody to understand that if you just got out of a relationship, you need time to heal, regardless if it's like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. For me, 2 years. I still have like love and support from my ex, but I just cannot get with her right now.
What is it about like waiting?
It's less likely y'all are gonna hurt each other in the end. Even in our 2-year relationship, like we've had like a lot of like good moments, we had a lot of bad. I felt like if I just only accept the good moments, then I feel like I'm just gonna ignore all the big problems we've had in the first place. If you give yourself a little time to heal, doesn't mean you have to wait like 5 years to get back with your ex. I mean, like you need to let it breathe before you should consider getting back with your ex.
The problem is once you break up with somebody, you're so emotionally attached that you can't look at that situation rationally. You'll tell yourself things like, oh, this time will be different because I can just ignore XYZ. When the truth is it didn't work for a reason. And so you really need that space.
And I do think there's some truth to that, is a lot of times we convince ourselves right after the breakup of how much we've changed, of how ready we are to be back in that relationship with the ex, how we're never going to let those mistakes that happened in the past happen again. And it reminds me of when a little kid gets in trouble and they say, Mom, I'm never going to lie again. Mom, I promise I'm never going to be bad again. I'm just going to be good now.
Yep.
And it's that almost childish hope and difficulty facing the reality of how challenging it is to actually have that kind of a change in your life.
Yeah. My daughter does that, and she's 7, and she'll be like, I'm not going to do that again. Oh, that would be nice. That's what I say, knowing it will happen again.
Exactly. A more mature approach is, okay, this is where I fall short. This may happen again. What do I do to prevent this from happening again? What do I do if this does happen again? Is there a potential for repair here? So we have to be real with ourselves with where we're at.
Don't try to tell your ex you've changed after 3 weeks. I mean, I literally say that all the time, and I constantly still see it in my email coachings or my Zoom calls or whatever. And they're like, yeah, after 3 weeks, I told her I had changed.
And sometimes they're trying to convince us. But no, really, I've learned so much about attachment. I promise I see things totally differently, and we get it. But it takes time, right? It takes practice over and over and over and over and over again. So many repetitions before you're able to truly master a skill. And even then, when it comes to relationships, emotions, to say that you mastered a skill, it almost sounds like non-human to say that, because this can be so challenging, and nobody is immune to feeling hurt in a relationship. Nobody's immune to being triggered.
Yeah, and when you're hurt and you're sad and you're anxious in particular, that anxiety causes you to lose emotional self-control, and you're going to get desperate, you're going to be manipulative, you're not going to be able to see your ex's position clearly because you're going to be forcing your own agenda.
Right. So props to this person for being able to to recognize that they need time after a breakup. I don't know what the situation is with the ex. I don't know if this person is maybe avoidant and that might be a part of why they're not revisiting that. I don't know. But the point here is taking time after that relationship to really consider what's happened, to reevaluate yourself, to have some kind of direction is very, very, very important.
Yeah, you're going to be a lot more likely to turn things around with your ex.
Yeah. Let's see what else they got.
And I think that's why I say give it some time, but that does not mean you need to give yourself 2 months and then automatically get back. 2 months with actual reflection. 2 months of just regular waiting is not.
Most people get back with their ex because they were just feeling one day like that they miss their ex. And because they miss their ex, they're like, oh shoot, well I have to get back because they've rationalized their feelings.
If we're gonna get back into this, we can't have any of this shit happen again. If you reflect and then you set the clear boundary of, you can't be chatting with some girls on Instagram or some shit like that. You need to have those clear boundaries for the both of y'all, not just for you and not just for her.
What advice do you have for people that are dating?
It's a cliche answer, but I truly mean this. No one should overlook or underestimate good communication.
Sure. Communication is important, and in order to have good communication, you have to work through a lot of your stuff. Because when you still have a lot of anxiety, you're going to only communicate certain things because you're going to be afraid of abandonment. You're not going to tell your partner what you really need or what you want because you're afraid they're going to reject you or that's going to be overwhelming for them. There are going to be a lot of different things that happen if you don't get okay with yourself, being okay with being alone, and learning to soothe yourself.
Exactly. It takes time and it takes practice. And, there might be situations where your ex might not be willing to see a mistake happen one more time. Maybe they're sick of, he made the example of chatting on girls on Instagram or whatever it might be. If your ex sees that one more time, they're not going to reconsider again. So sometimes there are situations like that where you have to be real with where you're at, why you've been enacting these behaviors to begin with, engaging in these behaviors to begin with. It does take self-reflection. One thing I love that he said is, it's not just about time. Many of you are asking, well, how long does it take? It's already been 5 months.
That's the anxiety.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, well, what have you really reflected on? There's no real insight on the breakup or even the relationship. It's just, I want this thing. I want it back. I want it now. Versus really, truly understanding where you're at and why you want it to begin with and what you would even do if you had it.
Yeah. So you got to really take the time to process, to work through it, to talk about it, to put words to it. And when you do, you're going to be a lot more likely to have a healthy relationship with your ex or someone else.
Take your time.
All right. Hopefully this one's been helpful to you. Of course, if you want to get our help personally, you could do that on my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do Zoom calls. Coach Victoria is also available for Zoom calls.
I'm here whenever you'd like to chat.
Just click on her name on the top of the website to schedule with her. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And we will talk with you soon.